this being your starting the season here, you're going to end up with the Big Ten season in the same building. Does this have you thinking about, expectations and what you want out of the season?
I wouldn't necessarily say this setting, makes us think like that. I think we all came in with the same goal in mind, and that's to win as many games as possible, make it to the tournament, and win games there. So I think that's just a constant for us, is just to be in that mindset of reaching our goals and taking things day by day and meeting the standards each day to reach those goals. So.
Brett is talking about how experienced been around for a while. Does this feel different, like in practice, where you have a team of guys who have been at Husker Hoops playing college basketball for a while? Is there any difference that you feel?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing, so this was my 5th year in college, third school, and so the biggest thing with having a roster with as much experience and depth as we have is kind of just the level of poise and just talent that exists on a regular basis. Whether it's like an inter-squad scrimmage or just a regular drill, guys not getting too high or down, or if you're down 2 or 3 possessions, not jacking the first quick 3 you get, and understanding that it is like a game of runs, and it is just kind of a game where you got to chip away and you have to trust your principles. And so from that perspective, obviously we guys still have a lot to improve on in terms of execution, but there hasn't been really any issues with outside factors or immaturity coming up. So
yeah, for sure, and you can trust the guy next to you to know what he's doing. Like Joe said, when we have scrimmages in practice, we don't have one guy that you have to look at that has to make the plays. We have a bunch of guys that have been there, know how to score, how to make plays for others. So you can share the ball and know that it's going to come back to you if you're open. And just having that trust between each other is a big thing for us right now.
You guys are a very veteran roster with a bunch of guys that have started a lot of games, played a lot of minutes from your respective schools. As this kind of picture of what this year's lineup is going to look like, rotations is going to look like, how much do you guys internally talk about role acceptance? Guys not getting selfish about playing X amount of minutes or being a starter, or anything like that. How is that balance within the locker room?
I think as of now it's kind of early, because like Coach spoke on during his time, they're trying to figure it out, So I don't think too many people have felt those emotions, or I'm pretty sure we've all had those thoughts of who's going to start, who's going to. But it's pretty early for that. But I also think the type of guys we have the character of guys we have in our locker room, I think we're all at a place, and we got a lot of older guys, so we're all at a place where it's we're just trying to win basketball games, man, at a high level. And in doing that, some sacrifice has to come, and sacrifice can be in any way, shape, or form. For some people, sacrifice may be coming off the bench. Others, it's not. I think it's just figuring out what it is for you that you may have to sacrifice. And at the end of the day, when you win basketball games, and especially in this conference, everybody's going to succeed and get to where they want to get to, or be in the steps to do so.
And the coaches have done a good job of just kind of keeping us focused on the level of competition and just approach to practice that we need to have. And so every time we do a live drill, basically every week, they're reminding us we've been doing a lot of practice and drill work with 3 teams basically through the whole summer leading up to basically the last 2 weeks. And now we've started doing a lot more just 2 teams. They've kind of been reminding us once we get to even our scrimmage next week, is that it's going to be 1 team. And so even though you might be doing okay on your other team or whatever it may be, we're still competing, because we got to find out who's going to be the guys we can trust. And the ultimate thing with our team is, obviously there's a lot that you can kind of speculate in terms of just our experience and roster, and how our guys going to accept those roles. But the thing is that it's going to allow for a lot of variability over the course of the season to figure out what rosters really work. And at the end of the day, for example, the San Diego State roster, they had a 9-man rotation. Their leading like scorer and minutes man was Matt Bradley with like I think 25 minutes a game and like 14 points per game. And obviously they made it to the national championship game. And so obviously the season isn't here, so I can't say for sure. But I'd like to imagine with the experience and just type of guys that we have, that guys won't be so caught up in whether or not it's like starting or the amount of minutes, but more or less what are you able to do in that role? Because, you know, all the coaches have been in the business for a very long time. Coach has obviously been at the highest level. Like, they're not blind. So even if someone is starting at the beginning of the season and you're coming in, you know, playing 15 or 20 minutes a game and outperforming them or whatever it may be, it could be a situation where you're just an elite sixth man. Or they're probably going to play around with, okay, let's work him in the lineup and see how he plays. And so at the end of the day, like, it is ultimately about how we are once we get into this building. And so because of the type of talent and experience we have, I think we have a chance to be a very fine-tuned product that no matter how good or bad we are to start the season, we're going to continue to improve just because guys are going to learn and the coaches are going to learn what situations and what lineups and what play styles we need to have for different guys.
Yes, Rienk, Coach was talking about just performance of player leadership. Guys
Yep.
being afraid to step up and say things.
Mhm.
Point all three of you guys, as a newcomer, when did you become comfortable taking on that?
Yeah.
You got a bunch of new teammates, you're in a new place. What was that transition like for you to step in and be a voice, a strong voice?
Well, since I was still learning the system in the beginning, that obviously was a little different. Just with the experience that I've had in college, basketball, at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that translate from team to team. So you try and help guys with that. But like system specific, that's starting to come more and more now that I'm more familiar with the system. I think right now we all, like me, myself, but the guys next to me too, we can all still take steps in our leadership, and hopefully we can develop that over throughout the season. But I see that we at least try to do the right things, and just like the actual leadership thing that like it comes with time and building trust. And I think we're very well on the way to get there. So yeah, I like where we're at, and I like where I'm at right now. I'm not much of an extremely vocal leader that's just gonna stand in front of the group and say how it is. I'll try and pull guys aside and give them minor things like, hey, look at that, maybe do this a little different way. And I think in that sense, we all have a little bit of a different leadership style, and we complement each other pretty well in that.
CJ, I know you part of last year's roster that had those veteran voices.
Yeah.
But you've also been on teams as a young guy where maybe that wasn't
Yeah.
as fair as much as it needed to be. How much of your voice does that make when you're going through the grind of a season? Things get tough, losing some games,
Yeah.
morale starting to low. Like, compare and contrast having those voices that are able to step up and pick everybody up compared to when maybe that's lacking.
I think it's well, first it's a testimony to the type of people that Derek and Sam Griesel and Emmanuel Benjamin are, because they put themselves out there, you know. And for me, as my first year here, I didn't necessarily have a visible visible physical representation of what leadership looked like. I've always had my own interpretation of it. I've always been capable of leadership, being in a position of leadership. But there's a lot more things that go into it, and I think those three guys last year kind of gave me that example, and it helps me help lead my teammates now. And like being that I've been here for going on my third year, I know the system, I know what the coach is looking for, and so if a newcomer, you know what I mean, doesn't necessarily do it, I don't leave it to the coaches to say something. I'll say something now. If the coaches like correct me or like get to it before me, then that's what it is. But I try to help them as much as possible as well, you know. And that's just all thanks to those three guys from last year, just giving me an example of seeing what that looks like, you know.
How have you, CJ, in your 3 years here, seen yourself grow in that sense of being
That there's power and energy, man. I think I'm a high energy guy, and just naturally, and I think I could get people to not necessarily just like listen to me, but like kind of hear what I'm coming from, where I'm coming from, in certain ways, and being able to like share that energy in those in those situations, I think has helped me in my position of, like in a position of leadership, on this team. So.
What do you guys think of Fred Hoiberg team physicality, bullies and posts, kind of being the enforcers down there? Doesn't that immediately come to mind? But that was one of the things he said he wants this team to be about. When a team plays Nebraska, they know it's going to be physical. Fight. How have you seen that element of toughness, physicality, just bringing that element to Nebraska, whereas maybe a couple of years ago that was not much.
Yeah, I had talked about that in some of my previous interviews, just about kind of what gravitated me towards Nebraska was the growth that I saw over the course of the last 2 and especially 3 years. And the kind of change and positive change they've been able to make in those years. Now, at least from my own standpoint, for those that, don't really know me or have followed me at all or watched me, that's a lot about who I am. I kind of embrace that role as being a very physical presence on the floor, whether that be with rebounding or just any moment there's an opportunity to make a hustle play, I'm going to be the one to make it. Running the floor, posting hard in transition, things like that. And from the coach's perspective, the way they've been kind of working us into that kind of mindset is, not calling things, but definitely allowing practice to be more physical within reason, just to make sure that guys aren't, driving to the lane or making moves thinking that, if I just do this, I'm going to get a call. Like, you're making the move to score, and, if somebody hacks you, then you get the call. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, you're trying to score. You're not trying to draw a foul. Just because obviously this is like a big physical league. And with Coach Hoiberg's mind, like, we're going to have all the offensive sets and plays and schemes we need to get us buckets. But it's going to be our job to be tough enough to not get bumped off cuts, to make sure the teams aren't getting second rebounds, to make sure that, we're finding those little extra possessions on the offensive glass or making the early ones in transition by running the floor and kind of ignoring that fatigue that everyone's going to be experiencing. And so just those kind of components are really like what he's meaning. And we definitely have some very blatant, literal, extra physical guys in practice, in particular Matar, our freshman.
And yourself?
Yeah, but obviously I'm not going to talk about myself.
Hey,
yeah,
let's just say you and Matar are very fun to play against.
I'm trying to get the team ready, okay? I think it definitely goes a long way when you're able to kind of take a hit, embrace something that didn't get called, and not let it affect you down the stretch or not complain about it. One thing that we do is, like, if somebody tries to ask for a call in practice, it's points for the other team. Just things like that. Just keeping your mouth shut, knowing that not everything is going to get called and that you're going to get hit, and just knowing that, like, that's going to help us kind of win those games on the road and not leave it up to the ref. And so.
Yeah, no, this is everything that the coaches have talked about, and that we've been trying to implement. Like, these two guys are super physical.
Oh, we go after each other.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They're super physical guys, and I think the coaches did a good job at recruiting guys that fit the culture that they want to build, and that fit the identity that they see our program going. And it's just, I was just agreeing with him, like, but to add on to his thing about physical toughness. A big thing in our program now has become a lot of mental toughness. And, like, if a call doesn't go our way, it was 2 claps, to reference like something that other teams done. With Kurt, we've been talking a lot about mindfulness and being present and gratitude and instead of seeing that, I have to go to practice today, is I get the chance to go play basketball today with my teammates, or I get the chance to go be better than my yesterday. So a lot of it is just physical. I think it's just toughness all the way around, across the board. And I think I was just agreeing with what he's saying, man.
I
Yeah, you got it.
I mean, I think there definitely is a certain component of it that does come with just someone's natural, I don't know what you'd call it, like comfortableness with being uncomfortable. You know, some people definitely do have that. They can come from like playing, you know, football or wrestling or something as a kid, or just growing up and knowing that, you know, it's okay to like be hit. Because some people, especially basketball players, kind of grow up and they're fine kind of playing in the gaps and not really having to interact, like actually hit anybody. But there's just little things about understanding, because, you know, us as players, like at the end of the day, like our goal is to play, our goal is to win games, and our goal is to be able to make a career out of this. And at the end of the day, though, the standard that your coach holds you to is how you're going to be able to get on the floor. And no matter what you're trying to do, like if you're not on the floor, it's not going to happen. And so by coach holding us to that standard of you're not allowed to be just pushed around, you're not allowed to just like be afraid of contact. When you know that like if you're not doing those things, you're not going to get a play, then for guys that aren't accustomed to playing that way, they're kind of willing to bite the bullet and be like, yeah, this sucks, but like this is what I have to do. You know, like for me personally, like I've kind of always been that way. Like I grew up, you know, I had 5 siblings. You know, I grew up like playing football. I did wrestling. Like for me, the physical aspect isn't really something that I'm like afraid of. But at the end of the day, like regardless of your motivation, if you're out there hitting people, if you're out there making those toughness plays, it doesn't really matter what your motivation is as long as you're getting it done. And so coach, it really comes down to coach holding us accountable from that perspective, and us being smart enough team to realize if we want to play, those are the things we have to do.
Coach Allick said that you guys are holding the team accountable at practices right now, as far as, hey, I want to talk to the team.
Yeah.
That leadership that you guys have shown, you guys, and him being willing to let you guys kind of go on your own and say that means what as far as trust.
I think. Oh, you got it, Rienk. You got it.
Yeah, I mean, just him trusting us enough that we get to say our own thing. I think that speaks volumes to how he values our like seniority and opinion. We've all been through multiple seasons of this, so that he trusts us in giving our own perspective on these type of things. I really value that in how he works with things, because some coaches, they keep it mostly to themselves on teaching the team, but I think from hearing it from a teammate sometimes has a little bit of a different impact on a young player. So not just a coach, but also from somebody that actually is on your team and is doing the same type of things can definitely help improve your understanding and help the guys that haven't been through the same thing that we've been through.
Yeah, because I mean, Coach talks about it a lot. Like player-led teams are always going to be more successful, because, especially over the course of the season, you know, like we have a great group of guys, but regardless, like you can't help as like human beings. Like when you constantly hear like the same thing from the same person, like eventually you start to get like they start to kind of build a little bit of like a resistance to it. And so when it's coming, and like the hard part for coaches is that obviously they're not out there able to like show you and physically be out there executing the things that they're asking you to do. So then, you know, a lot of like players will be like, oh, you know, you're not actually out, like you don't know what it's like out there, whatever, you're not actually doing it. So obviously it's easier to say from the sideline. And so when you have somebody that's actually out there going, like embracing the fire with you, like they're walking through it, it kind of adds a different perspective where it's like, okay, well, this guy is actually doing it. You know, he does know what it's like, and he's telling me and showing me how to do it. You know, like, I mean, just like the first example that comes to mind is like Eli. He's going to be a really promising freshman for us. He's going to have a chance to play like legitimate minutes just because of the way that he showed like his poise and just like IQ and scoring ability on the floor. But one thing I've been trying to get on him about is he has to be willing to like hit. Like when shots go up, he kind of does the high school box out of you stand in front of them and hope that they just don't get it. So I've kind of been taking an initiative to where anytime I'm near him, I go a little bit extra and try to make sure that he knows, like, listen, you gotta, if you're not gonna meet me halfway, I'm gonna eat up the space and I'm gonna fucking bury you in the baseline. And there's definitely been times when after plays over or whatever, he kind of looks back at me and he's like, "What was that?" I'm like, "You got to hit me. Like, you got to hit people." And the great part is that he embraced, like, he's cool with that. I mean, obviously he's probably not happy about getting hit, but he understands, like, okay, I need to make this adjustment, and it's okay. Like, it's not, in high school, you hit someone too hard, you're gonna get a foul. Like in college, unless you just absolutely bulldoze someone standing still, you're not gonna get a call on a box out. And so just little things like that, like trying to get him to embrace like what it means to play at the college level, especially in the Big Ten. I think it's just like that instance and many others are going to like be what kind of helps us kind of improve and really develop as a team over the season.
Point guard is a big question, just transitioning from Sam and Emmanuel to the guys you have now. How has that picture looked in the practice you've had so far?
I think
Marcus is playing one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brought in. What's that point guard position?
I think both Boogie and Jamar are great at their positions. As Coach spoke on, like Jamar's changing positions from being a guy who scores the ball to being a guy who's looked at to facilitate the ball and get guys involved. And I think he's done a good job transitioning to that. And for starters, which I love, which was part of the reason why I came to Nebraska and stayed in Nebraska, is the style of play offensively. And Jamar has done a great job at initiating the pace and getting guys in space and hitting guys early, which is something that Coach has been preaching for the past 2 years. So it's been great to see, especially because Jamar is like my little brother. Like I live with him. He played with my little brother in high school, so it's great to see him mature and step into that position of being a lead guard and things like that. And Boog, dude can pass. Like I haven't played with a guy in college that could see the court and get guys involved the way he does. And it's been fun playing with him in practice, because he finds me and I get to knock down some shots. So I think it's up to the coaches. I think it's up to the coaches to figure out what that's going to look like for them. But I think we're in good shape in that spot. Yeah,
I think we got a system where the ball touches a lot of different hands, and we have a lot of guys that can play make. So having that point guard position with the two guys that CJ talked about, like we're going to be good getting across half court, and then after that we have so many guys that can make plays. I think that we'll be good in sharing the ball and like getting open shots in that way.
Josiah and Rienk, Coach Wilcher is talking about how you guys are big guys and he likes the way you initiate offense. How comfortable are you handling the ball? How much do you like this offense where you play kind of inside now?
I mean, I think I can speak for both of us with just saying like that's a lot of what gravitated us towards coming here.
For sure.
Just because, I mean, obviously, like Coach Hoiberg, he played for 10 years, coached for like 5 or 6, was in management. He understands the NBA game and he understands it very well. And he knows the most efficient, most kind of effective way to play like offense is having multiple guys that aren't going to slow down what you're trying to do. If you have to grab the rebound and you have to like wait for somebody to like get open to get at you, that's all time that the defense is getting set up. So if one of us is able to get the ball, everybody else goes and splits, and we're bringing the ball down the floor. It really creates this situation where now the big's in the middle of the floor. He's not at the paint. You can have back doors. You can have pin threes. You can have all kinds of situations that if you're playing with somebody who has to rely on someone else to hold the ball, that aren't possible, because then you can just camp someone out in the lane and they don't have to worry about it. And so, the multi-handler system that he has and just the way that he kind of allows us to go be playmakers and puts us in situations where it's really just a fluid offense where he just prefers guys to be in certain situations. It's really like, it's basically like every big's dream, and it's more or less our job not to screw it up. So,
Yeah.
Was there a moment you guys realized he was a bit different, different type of player that could do things that a lot of players can do in the
Yeah, I have really liked playing with him. We're starting to understand each other more since his English has gotten better over the years, I've heard, but it's still there. But just like we understand each other with just like an eye connection, and that's starting to become more and more. And just it's been fun playing with him because he's like you said, he's very much his own player. There's not he plays like unlike anybody else, but he gets to his spots. He's very unassuming, but he's super smart in the way that he plays, and I've really enjoyed kind of learning his brain and being able to like play off each other.
Yeah. I would say for me, I mean, he definitely just has moments every now and then where you're like, well, you know, that's Casey.
Yeah.
Whether that be just a transition, you know, throw ahead, pump fake, let him fly by three with somebody else flying at him, or really, I mean, the most like impressive part for me is just like how easy he makes it look. Because obviously he's not super fast, not super tall, not super athletic, but yet he just seems to always find himself in an open spot and just getting people out of position. Because obviously you have to close straight to him at like 25 feet. You know, even beyond that if he's feeling it. And because of that, anytime he gets that ball up, you have to be right there. And so it causes a situation where it's very easy to get blow-bys, and he's great at throwing the ball out, gets into position, and then he has an elite float game as well. And then if you don't bite on that, he'll do one of those little Curry flip-ups from middle of the lane and just have you looking like an idiot trying to swat it out the air. And so, I mean, I'm really excited to kind of have a dynamic player like that that's going to have just such an insane, like, just gravitational pull on the floor. And, I mean, he's obviously going to get his, but it's also just going to make the game easier for us. Just because you're going to have to worry about him at all times. And because of that, we're going to be able to find easy ones and just make plays for each other and just have a really efficient flowing offense.
Thank you, everybody.